Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Carrie Olson, and I'm the president of the Denver Public Schools Board of Education. Thank you so much for joining us today for the bittersweet announcement about Susanna Cordoba's departure from Denver Public Schools. After over 30 years in DPS, she has accepted a position in Dallas Independent School District as the Deputy Superintendent of Leading and Learning. We are so grateful for the work that Susanna has done for DPS in her 31 career as an educator and as a leader. We've been so lucky that she's been a part of DPS throughout her life as a student, as a mom, as a teacher, as a leader, and as a trailblazer. She was the first Latina superintendent and only one of 2 women of color to lead our district. In addition, she's bilingual and has been able to speak with many families in our district in their native language, including countless Facebook Live sessions in Spanish. I have watched her lead with her heart and her soul, with grace, humility, and passion for her mission to ensure that all DPS's students succeed, not by accident, but by design. We are very excited for her to pursue this exciting opportunity in Dallas. We'd also like to remind people that the way students experience Denver Public Schools and with all the incredible people they interact with every day will not change. For all the individuals that educate and care for our students every single day, that incredible work will continue daily. We are grateful for all of you in our DPS community who do the daily work of nurturing our students, especially now during this pandemic. This work will continue. Today, we want to share some updates about our next steps and where we'll go from here. With that, I'd like to pass it over to my board colleague, Vice President Jennifer Bacon, to share more details about our priorities and commitments as we move forward.
So as I was saying, thank you, Dr. Olson, and thank you to our superintendent, Susanna Cordoba, for her continued service and commitment to the Denver community. We are so grateful to have had the opportunity. So we are continuing to work with the superintendent to determine her last day, and we will be selecting an interim superintendent to help us keep all the important work moving forward in DPS. We will then build out a timeline for the new superintendent search. And as with everything we do, engagement with our staff, our families, our students, and our community will be the top priority throughout this process. As Dr. Olson explained, throughout this process, the focus will be on our students. We will not change that. Finding the next great leader of our district. And so we learned a lot and gathered incredible insights from the community during our last search process in 2018. And we're really excited to be able to build on that work. We have a caring and involved community, and we have received an incredible amount of input from everyone as we hope to use this and to hear the voices to inform our next steps. We'll then do an even kind of longer process as we'd like to hear more from families and communities as we determine how to move forward together and as we determine who will be our new superintendent. We also have strong leadership across the district and great teamwork. We will ensure as a district that we will see to continuity and stability across all of DPS. We have a strong foundation that carries us through our daily work every day. We have amazing teachers, school leaders, operational staff, and central support teams that are here for our students and their families. So lastly, we have our crisis priorities that we set as a board that is guiding our work and our planning for the remainder of the school year. We as a board are committed to staying the course and working together to provide the best education possible to all of our students during these unprecedented times. Every organization goes through leadership changes, and we are committed as Team DPS to seeing this through with a continued focus on equity and service. We remain committed to being an equity-focused, students-first district, and one that will carry on uninterrupted and undaunted by the challenges ahead. And I'd like to pass it over to our superintendent.
Incredibly grateful for the opportunity to share some of my thoughts. As you all know, the Denver Public Schools has been an incredibly important and meaningful part of my life over the last 31 years. It's been an incredible honor to lead the school district where I started as a student, became a classroom teacher and a principal. I grew up here in Denver. I've raised and educated my children in the Denver Public Schools, and I'm proud to have spent my career as an educator here. It has meant so much to me. My time as a student, as a teacher, as a mom, and as a leader. And it truly is bittersweet to announce that I've decided to accept a position in Dallas as the Deputy Superintendent of Leading and Learning. I will be forever grateful for the opportunities that I've had in the Denver Public Schools, and I'm particularly grateful to the Board of Education for placing your trust in me over the last 2 years. As the child of a Mexican-American parents who went on to become a first-generation college graduate, I have given my all to DPS, and it has given me so much in return. I know we've weathered really a lot of challenges over the last 2 years, a teacher strike, a bomb cyclone, budget cuts, reorganization, and the current global pandemic that we are all grappling with. And throughout all this time, we've invested in our classrooms, in our teachers. We've strengthened the connections and collaboration that we have with our educators and our leaders. And I have been particularly proud of the work that we have done to elevate equity as the defining value driving all of our work. I will be sad to be leaving Denver, but I am so grateful to everyone that I have worked with and learned from over the past decades. I'm committed to working with our Board of Education and the senior team over the coming weeks to ensure a smooth transition. I will always be lifted up by the brilliance and dedication of the amazing educators I've worked alongside and helped bring into Denver. And I want you to know that Denver will always be home to me. DPS is a community dedicated to its children. Our schools are game changers for Denver's kids, and they will continue to make a difference for our students' lives for generations to come, just like DPS did for me and for my family. I want to thank my family for putting up with me, for the late nights, the distractions, the too much time on my phone, the too much work going on. They have absolutely enabled me to do this job, even when it came at their own expense. To my husband, Eric, to Alex, and to Carmen, thank you. I love you. Thank you for your endless support. And to the DPS community, to our Board of Education, thank you all. It has been an honor to work with all of you for the past 3 decades.
Thank you. At this time, we will open it up for questions. If you are a member of the media, please state your name, what outlet you're with, and you'll unmute and ask your question. We'll go in order. First up, Teeny with the Denver Post. Go ahead, Teeny.
Yeah, hi, and congratulations, Susanna. I'm curious, how do you feel about leaving the district while at the helm of a pandemic response? And I'm curious what drew you to Dallas?
So thank you. You know, I know it is really hard timing for everyone in education, and the challenges that we are all grappling with right now are unprecedented. And at the same time, I'm so confident in the crisis priorities that our Board of Education has developed that guide the work of this team, that I am incredibly confident that we'll continue to move forward and advance the work that is so critical to our students. When it comes to Dallas, you know, Dallas is a district that I think reminds me a lot of the Denver that I grew up in. It's an incredibly diverse district, serving a large student population, many of whom are students of color, the majority of whom are students of color who are low income, who are students learning English as a second language. There are amazing, innovating things happening in Dallas. And the superintendent of Dallas, Dr. Michael Hinojosa, has been a mentor of mine for several years. And I never was in a position before in my career where I felt like I could step away from Denver. But when this opportunity came up this time, I felt like it was the right thing to do.
Congratulations.
Jesus with Univision. Go ahead, Jesus.
Susana, buenas tardes. Bueno,
Buenas tardes.
felicidades y agradecido siempre por tu trabajo y tu apoyo a la comunidad hispana. En español, ¿puedes decirnos cuál sería tu mensaje para todos esos niños, padres, representantes, incluso docentes de nuestra comunidad?
Pues muchísimas gracias por la pregunta. Realmente lo que yo les quiero decir a toda nuestra comunidad y especialmente a la comunidad hispana es realmente la educación nos da la llave al futuro. Yo soy la hija de parientes mexicoamericanos. Mis padres no asistieron a la universidad y realmente estoy en mi lugar ahora por el beneficio de la educación que me dieron aquí en las escuelas públicas de Denver. Todo es posible con la educación. So, por favor, para nuestros alumnos, para sus parientes, siguen con sus estudios, especialmente en este tiempo tan difícil, porque realmente con la educación se puede alcanzar a donde quiera.
Thanks. Next, Jennifer with 9 News. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Hello, Superintendent. Jennifer Michaels with 9 News here. Understanding, it sounds like you don't have an exact final day with DPS. Can you give us a sense, though, if you think end of semester, end of school year, based on when you'll be starting in Dallas? And then,
Yes. Okay.
I'm sorry, second part of that question is, if you'll be involved now, depending on when you're leaving, with ongoing pandemic planning for DPS, or if that will really turn over to everybody else?
Yeah, thank you. You know, I'm very committed to supporting a smooth transition in the work around selecting an interim. We have an amazing team here. And while we haven't set a specific end date, I'm incredibly confident that the team that we have really will be able to continue with the work moving forward into second semester. And in the coming days, hopefully we'll have more information about firm timelines.
Next question is from Melanie at Chalkbeat. Go ahead, Melanie.
Hi, Susanna. Melanie Asmar with Chalkbeat. I'm wondering if you can say more about what led you to look for a new position.
So thank you. I actually wasn't looking for a new position. I have been very dedicated to the work that we've been doing in the Denver Public Schools. Actually, I got approached about this position. As I mentioned, I've known Dr. Hinojosa for several years, have respected and admired him and his leadership. And when this opportunity came up, I felt like I really owed it to myself to consider it. It's not something that I had been in a position to consider before. Feel like I have learned a lot in the Denver Public Schools and have a lot to offer, but I'm also very excited to learn a lot in a new place. As you know, Denver has really been my home. I'm all hedgehog, all in on DPS. So this will be a new and exciting adventure for me. And I'm really excited about the opportunity to take what I've learned here, but also to learn a lot in a new place.
Great. I have a question. I think we accidentally removed Erica with Fox, but Erica asks, the last time you spoke in September, you mentioned wanting to stay in, making the decision to stay in Denver every day. She's asking what has changed.
Yeah, so thank you. You know, and I believe so deeply in the work that we are doing here in Denver, and really respect and admire the amazing educators that we have. As I mentioned, I wasn't looking to make a change. You know, in many ways, Dallas reminds me of the Denver I grew up in. It reminds me a lot of the people that I got into teaching to support. And as I've mentioned, I'm really excited about this new challenge and the ability to take my skills to work in a new community.
Teeny with the Denver Post, go ahead.
Sure, thank you. Susanna, what do you consider your biggest accomplishments as superintendent for the last 2 years?
Yeah, thank you. You know, it has been a really challenging time, but there are so many things that I am proud of. I'm incredibly proud of the work that we have done to support more students graduating on time, more students taking and completing rigorous courses. We had the largest group of students take and pass AP classes, IB classes, and concurrent enrollment classes this past year. That's while we were in the global pandemic, because of the intense focus we've had on helping support our students to achieve career and college success. I'm incredibly proud of the focus that we have put on equity, on the work that we have done with our teachers, our leaders, and our students, on the efforts to bring courses like ethnic studies, the No Justice, No Peace resolution that will help us review and ensure that culturally responsive and reflective curriculum are culturally sustaining curriculum and instruction work really does help our students see themselves in their readings, so that they can see the contributions that they and their people have made to the great place the United States truly is. I'm also really proud of the work that I've done to change the tone and tenor of the relationship that we have with our teachers and with our school leaders. I've worked really hard to create collaborative structures where multiple voices have a place at the table in important decision making. That's with things like our Teacher Advisory Council, with the collaborative work we've done with our teachers and our leaders around how we are grappling with the global pandemic, with all of our union leaders throughout this time. I'm incredibly proud of the kind of relationships that I've been able to build with our team.
Next is Giny from CPR. Go ahead, Giny.
Yes, congratulations on your new post. I had a question. Typically, sometimes when you take a new job, there are push and pull factors, and sometimes there were differences of opinion between you and the staff and the board, and I wondered if any of those played into your decision.
Yeah, so thank you. I think it's really important in a large public organization like the Denver Public Schools for there to be honest dialogue, debate, and conflict. I think conflict is actually really important in a democracy. And I think it's also really important that we work through conflict to get to decisions that we all can support. That's something that I have worked hard on throughout my career. I have not shied away from engaging in difficult conversations, but I think it's also really important to acknowledge that difficult conversations don't mean that we are difficult people. It is really important. If we always are just agreeing with each other, we're probably not talking about the real issues. And so I think that's really important. And it happens in all districts. And I think that's something that's critical to acknowledge. I am not leaving to get away from the Denver Public Schools. The Denver Public Schools has been incredibly important to me. I am incredibly excited about the opportunity to start a new phase of my career in Dallas with a significantly larger population, new challenges, probably some of the same challenges that we grapple with in urban education, but really excited about this opportunity.
Thanks. Next, Jennifer with 9 News. Go ahead.
Hello again. Vice President Bacon was starting to talk about the process for picking a new superintendent. Just because I've not covered this in Denver yet, can you give me a quick walk through the logistics of that? How that works, who makes final decisions? I know it's a community process as well for both replacing superintendent and deciding an interim. Thanks.
Sure, thank you. So the process particularly entails first, actually it lives primarily with the Board of Education, and we will create a narrative around who we are at Denver Public Schools and post it as a job description. We'll likely engage a search firm or some support to be able to help us not only find candidates, but manage the application process, which includes submitting resumes, recommendations, and whatnot. And then we'll enter into an interview process that typically will include some broader questions, and then down to narrowed ones as we also narrow the field. There are some policies that we have to abide by per Colorado statute. If we do select finalists or finalists, we must present them to the community for a particular period of time to receive feedback before we confirm who the new superintendent is. And so there's a range of amount of time in which it takes to find a new superintendent. At our swiftest, we do want to be able to hire a superintendent in a timeline that's most conducive to being able to support the upcoming school year. But right now, we're at a place in which we have to confirm some further dates and be able to meet together as a board to define our process and also to define, again, who we are looking for, not only in an interim, but in a full-time superintendent moving forward.
Okay, we'll take one more question. Teeny with the Denver Post, go ahead.
Hi, thank you. I just wanted to clarify, is that also your process for finding an interim superintendent? And are you guys currently eyeing anyone for that position?
So that is not the process for an interim superintendent. Interim superintendents can be made by appointment, but it also does live with the board. We haven't started thinking through who our interim is. We just wanted to be able to support our community through our announcement, and we will. We're actually looking forward to and very grateful to our superintendent, Superintendent Cordova, to be able to work with us to help us think through a time frame and think through what are the needs of the district so that we can start thinking through wonderful candidates.
And if I could just add, we're fortunate that 4 of us on the board have gone through a superintendent search process and hiring. So we have 4 people, Director Kobian, Dr. O'Brien, Vice President Bacon, and myself were on the board when we selected Superintendent Cordova. So there's some of us who have had some experience with this, not like when we did it and we hadn't hired a new superintendent in 10 years.
Okay, that wraps us up. As I mentioned, this recording will be available on our website. You can reach out to me or check on our website in about an hour. Thank you, everyone.